What is up guys? Welcome back to Full Stack Simplified. My name is Prashun and today I'm going to show you some of the most useful JavaScript array methods which you should definitely use to make your life easier as a programmer. So make sure you stick to this video till the end, and without any further ado, let's get started.
To get started, I have created a simple array of objects which we are going to use for all these different array methods. And essentially this array contains name of students and their total score in a particular test. So if I quickly save this, we can see that these elements are being logged to the console. So the first method which I'm going to talk about is map. Basically this method allows you to iterate over an array and modify its element using a callback function. And most importantly, it does not modify the original array and instead returns a new one. So suppose we have a situation where we want to add a bonus score of 10 to each of the students. So what we can do is we can use this map method, and it is going to accept a function, and in this function we are going to get this item which will be each element of this array. And what we are going to do is we are going to return this object with all the items, and here we just need to update the score. So I'm going to say score will be is equals to item.score plus 10 as bonus. Now this whole thing returns an array, so I'm going to save it in a variable named modified, and let us also quickly log this in the console. Now if we quickly save it and expand this, we can see that the score has been increased by 10 for all the students. So the next method which I'm going to show you is find. Essentially this method, as the name suggests, finds a particular element from the array for a given condition. So for an example, if we want to find a student whose name is Akash, so what we can do is we can simply call this find method over this array, and similar to map, it is going to give us an item on this callback. And what we can do is we can check if item.name is equals to Akash. Now if we save it, we can see that the name of the student whose name is Akash is being logged in the console with all other properties associated with it. Now the next method which I'm going to talk is filter. So let's say we want to get all the students whose score is greater than 750. So for this, what we can do is we can simply call this filter method on this students array, and similar to previous method, it is going to return an item in this callback, and we can check if item.score is greater than 750. Now let us save it, and we can see that these three students have the score greater than 750 which are being logged in this console. Similarly, if you want to check any other number, suppose less than 750, we can see that these 5 students have their score which is less than 750. So this is how you can use filter method over your array to filter out the things based on certain condition. The next method which I want to talk about is forEach, which unlike these other methods does not return anything. So we don't need this thing here, so we can simply remove it. And essentially forEach works as a simple for loop, but here it requires this function as a callback. So let us say we want to log the names of the student from this student array. So we can use this forEach method, and it gives us item and also the index if we want to use. And here we can simply say console.log index and item.name. Now if I quickly save this, we can see that names of the student are being logged in this console along with the index. Now essentially you use this forEach method as a loop where you don't need to modify this array. So you can use this loop and do whatever you want to do inside this block. The next method which I'm going to talk about is essentially used in every project and code. We are talking about the sort method for sorting the arrays. So for an example, if we want to sort this given array by the ascending order of score, what we can do is we can simply call this sort method on this students array, and in this callback function it is going to give us the first element and the second element, and what we are going to do is we are simply going to return the first element dot score minus the second element dot score. And this thing essentially is what is going to do is this is going to sort this complete array in the ascending order of the score. So if we quickly log this student and save the code, we can see that this array is sorted in ascending order of the score. And now if we want to suppose sort this array in the descending order, we can simply replace this thing to second and first, and we can save it, and now the things are sorted in the descending order of the score. Now let us talk about another method called Array.some method, which can be used to check if any of the elements in an array passes a given condition. So for an example, if you want to check if any student have a score less than 100, then we can use this method. So I can say students.sum, and again this is going to give us an item from the callback, and we can check if item.score is less than 100. So what this thing is going to do is it is going to loop over each of the element of the student array and check if the score is less than 100. And if any one of the element satisfies this condition, this whole thing is going to return true. So we can save it in a variable. Suppose I name it bool, and let us also log this to the console to check if things are working. So as soon as I click save, it is going to say true, because obviously there is a student whose score is less than 100. Now if I change the condition to 50, it is going to give us false because there is no student having this score less than 50. And yes, if you are enjoying this video, then a sub to this channel will be outstanding. Now the next method which I'm going to talk about is Array.every, which is almost kind of same like this Array.some method, but this every method returns true only if each of the element in that array satisfy a given condition. So if I say students.every and save it, it is going to give us false. Now if I say item.score is less than 100, then also it is going to give us false, because all the students are not satisfying this condition. Only this particular student is satisfying this condition. So if each and every element of this array satisfies this condition, then it is going to give us a true. So let's check if item.score is greater than 50, because we are having all the students whose score is greater than 50. Now it is going to give us true, because each and every element satisfied this particular condition. Now the next method which I'm going to show you is a pretty simple one, which is used to reverse the order of each of the elements of an array. So if I call students.reverse, this essentially is going to reverse the order of each of the element in this array. So let us log this in our console and save the code. We can see that the order is now being reversed. Now the next two methods which I'm going to show you is related to stacks. So I've taken a simple array of these numbers. So if we want to push an element to the end of an array, we can use this Array.push method to push an element at the end. Now simply log this. We can see that 12 is being pushed at the end of this array. Now we can also use this Array.pop method to essentially pop out the last element of an array, and this thing is going to return the popped element. So now if we log this element to the console, we can see that in the first step the 12 is being pushed to this array, and in the next step this 12 is getting popped from the array. Now if I also log the complete array to the console, we can see that we are back to our original state where this 12 is not present. Now the next method which I'm going to talk about is the shift method. Basically this method can be used to remove an element from the beginning of an array. So if we say Array.shift, this is going to remove 1 from the array, as we can see here. And alternatively, we also have a method called unshift, which is going to add an element to the beginning of an array. So if I add 10, this is going to add this element at the beginning. Now the next method which I'm going to talk about is called Array.splice method. Basically this method has a structure of something like this. So the first argument is the index, And the second is basically how many things we are going to replace or delete. So if I say Array.splice and I want to add numbers starting from the index 2 and I want to remove 0 elements, and what I want to add is 10 and 11. So what this is going to do is this is going to add 10 and 11 starting from the index 2. Alternatively, we can also use this splice method to delete a certain element from an array. So if I say I want to delete an element at index 2 and the number of element is 1, so now this is going to remove 3 from the array. Now what if we want to check if a particular element is present in an array? We can use this Array.includes method to check if the element passed as an argument is present in a particular array. And this whole thing returns a boolean. So I'm going to save this in a variable and also log this to the console. So we can see that this returns true as 4 is present in that array. And as a second parameter, we can also pass the from index, which is going to check only from that index and search that element starting from that index. So if we say 4 in this case, so it is going to return us false because it is checking only this part of the array. Now the next and the final method which we are going to talk about in this video is called the concat method. Basically this concat method merges these two arrays and returns a new one. So I'm going to say let arr3 is equals to arr1.concat arr2. And if we simply log this, we can see that these two arr1 and arr2 are merged together. Now alternatively, we can also use the new ES6 spread feature to achieve this. So let me copy this line and also comment this out. And instead of using this concat, we can say arr1 and arr2 like this. And we are also going to get the same result using this thing.
Now that was all for this video, guys. I'll be back with new contents very soon. Till then, stay tuned and thanks for watching.